All right, here we go. Welcome to the Teaching a Rockstar podcast. And on today's episode, we have Marissa Moretti. And, with this podcast, I have had so many requests from teachers and administrators about including more information about health and nutrition and fitness and diet and self-care and well-being. And so I go looking for people, and I came across Marissa on the gram. And here's what I love about her. So like you like I'm just going through Instagram, I find Marissa and like just looking through her pictures and reading her posts. Like she's kind and compassionate and loving and humble and in a mom and then like she's amazing. But then like when I talk to her, as you're about to find out in this interview, she's so much more than that. Like she is everything I thought she was times 1,000. And what's powerful about her story is like she's doing the teaching thing and she's great, and even more than that, somehow she's keeping her whole life together and she has a side hustle and she's killing that, and she's able to balance this single mom life, and she's still getting to the gym and still working out and still meal prepping and eating healthy and having this amazing life in San Diego. Here we go. Teaching a Rockstar podcast with Marissa Moretti. Let's do this. All right, let me tell you. Here's one of the things I love about you, and so I've been getting a lot of requests for fitness and health and nutrition stuff,
Right.
and um, and so like on Instagram, there's a lots of teachers out there with doing their thing, and so I found I don't know I was scrolling through, like I was following hashtags, and I thought, well, let me just message some people here, and I probably messaged maybe a dozen, and then of all the people I messaged, you're the only one that responded back and said, yeah, let's talk
Oh,
about it.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. How
Well,
cool is that?
yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad. I'm always looking to get the word out about health and fitness. That's my jam. That's what I do. So I love
Yeah.
it.
All right. So, now, in terms of health and fitness and nutrition and staying in shape and balancing your life in such a way that that's a priority, has that always been your thing, or did that come later in life? Or tell me about that.
And it's always been my thing. I've been into, I guess, fitness since I would say over 10 years now, and it's just progressively gotten more. I'm to the point where if I go a day without working out or being active, it messes with my mindset because it's such a part of my lifestyle that I need it to decompress. I need it to kind of center myself, I guess you could say. I use it when I teach. After I work, I usually go to the gym and I pick through my day, I guess you could say. It's a way for me to like think about everything that went wrong or went well. What can I change? So it's kind of like my time.
Yeah.
I've I've worked out through 2 pregnancies, so I mean it's all I know really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think here's the biggest question that lots of teachers are faced with, and like you might be the perfect person to talk about it. Is I just don't have the time, or my life is too busy, because
Always.
I don't know if this is true, but I mean, just kind of scrolling through your Instagram, are you a single mom?
I am a single mom, yes.
All right.
Single mom, 2 kids,
So we got 2 kids, single mom. I mean, like a real teaching full time gig,
full
and
time.
and then I mean, but not just that, man. It's just like life happens, and the other day,
Yes,
your kid's field day, and there's little league, and there's all kinds of stuff
yes.
happening. So, like for you, what is the key to trying to figure out how to keep this self care of your body and mind and emotions, like keeping that as a priority? Like, how do you do that?
Well, first off, you have to want it. You have to absolutely want to make yourself a priority. And I know a lot of moms feel guilty, and I sometimes, yes, I feel guilty, and sometimes people might look at it as selfish. But in reality, if you're not keeping yourself mentally healthy and there, you're not good for your kids. You're just going to be more aggravated and more frustrated. And I find that on sometimes I have those days, and my kids are the one that take it because I can't go off on my kids at school. That's not appropriate. So my little kids, if I'm having a rough day and I didn't work out or I don't make myself a priority, my little kids, I get a little snappy with them, I do have to say. But it's all about mindset. You have to want it. And my kids are getting older, and like you said, Little League, I was a coach this year. And so more outlets are pulling me in more directions. Nonetheless, I still make it to the gym 5 days a week because that's my priority. So I have to actually step back and be like, okay, if I didn't make it to the gym 2 times this week, that's okay. That's okay. I'm out there with my kids. I'm doing my Little League thing. And that has been a learning experience for me. So I guess as I go, I've been balancing and I've been learning. My mother always said, well, as the kids grow up, you're going to have to learn to put them first. So I'm learning to do that. And I'm not forgetting that I need my time too.
Yeah.
So you have to want it. And you have to realize it's important for you to have your time. Even if it's 30 minutes at home or a walk around the block with your dogs, or take your kids in the stroller, or take them to the park. I've done that numerous times where I've gone to the park and I've done a little workout while they're playing. So there's ways to make it happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you a quick story, and it to me it's funny. It's not really funny, but it's okay, it's funny. But so like I'm at my kids' little league, and this is last year, and I'm probably at this point maybe 4 weeks out from a physique contest, and so I'm looking a little freaky and getting a little too lean for. I mean, you can't be that lean in life, but so
Right.
like temporarily I can, and a lady asked me like, "Do you work out or what's it?" I'm like, "Yeah, And so she starts telling she happens to be a teacher, and she knows about my work with Teaching a Rockstar and the whole thing. And she's telling me how she just no time, and she's going on and on about it. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm sitting next to you 3 nights a week, and we're in a park, and there's a trail, like a jogging pathway that's marked off by
Yes.
quarter miles, and there's all kind of body weight exercise movement, and there's places to do assisted push-ups and like different heights of bars, and and step up boxes. All at least is a whole park, and I'm thinking, are you
All
kidding?
over.
Yeah, I'm thinking to myself. I don't say anything. I'm thinking, well, I can find about 4.5 hours in your life where you could be
Right.
doing something instead of talking to me. And
Yes.
but I think here's the challenge is one, and this is why I hope people can maybe connect if you're open to it, like connect with you. And one is, I think the first step is, you're right, man, like make it a priority.
Yes.
And we're talking about you and your health and you as the priority, so they can be there for your kids and for your students. And then here's the second thing that I've always found it's really helpful is if people get caught up in their own story and their own life, but
Mhm.
it's a whole lot easier to talk to somebody else and help them find the time in your life, because in your mind it doesn't exist. And because
Right.
you have a story about everything. But if you sat down and someone else could go through that with you, and they could help you find, well, it sounds to me like if you got up 30 minutes earlier, or if instead of, going to lunch with your lunch bunch, and you could go to the track, or, you can say 30 minutes after school or something,
Right.
it seems to me it's always easier for other people to find the solution for your problem.
Well, they can give you that outside perspective and kind of looking in. It's like, okay, well, if that was my schedule, here's what I would do to make it work. And I mean, just like you said at the park, I have been that crazy mom on numerous times where I'm sitting there doing burpees and running sprints, and everyone's just looking at me, and I'm like, hey, I'm getting it in. I feel good. My kids are practicing. So there's no excuses. You can find the time if you really want it. And, sometimes you just got to get out of your comfort zone. And once you do it once, and maybe you start with 3 times a week, it's going to start to feel good. And then you're going to say, hey, I need to do that. It's a way for me to decompress on my lunch break, or I need to take that hour lunch so I can have 30, 40 minutes to walk in between. So once you start, it's the baby steps, then you're going to really see how powerful it can become.
It's the momentum, isn't it? Like, I don't know about you,
Yeah,
but here's the
totally.
weird.
100%.
It happens to me at least a few times a year, at least, where like I get in this funk and I don't want to go and I don't want to do it, and I just the thought of it, I don't like it. But then, like after a few days, I'll force myself to go, and I realize,
Yeah.
oh my God, I love this. Like, why do I convince myself I don't like it?
And that's completely normal. That's completely normal for everyone to get in a slump and not want to work out, or some days your body is tired or you have a lot going on, and on those days when that happens to me, I take the day off, I mentally get better, and I do something fun with my family, but then you get back into it. You can't let it sink you, I guess was what to say.
Yeah.
So you just you got to pick up, start the next day or the day after that. You just got to keep pushing.
My friend, he's a nutritionist, and his name is Keith Klein. He has an online program as well called Lean Body Coaching that people sign up for. But anyway, his metaphor is for like those days where you just can't do it. Or you have that, you give in and you have that big giant, Friday afternoon Mexican food meal, and you embarrass yourself because you got flan and cheesecake on your face, and in that moment, and then it all crumbles and it falls apart for weeks. And so, like, his analogy is, well, like if you got to, really what that is, like if that's like you getting a flat tire on the highway and then pulling over and popping the other 3 tires.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, why don't you just, okay, I got the flat tire that one day. Let's fix it and let's get back on the road and forget about it. Like, who cares?
Yeah. Well, I honestly, this whole working out journey for me started, in my 20s, and it started with me. I'm going to work out because I want to eat what I want. So I would eat what I want, and I still do. I still eat what I want. I'm definitely healthier now, but I consume my little sweets. I'm a big chocolate freak, so I love chocolate, and I eat my chocolate. I have my glass of wine on the weekends when I need it, but I don't deprive myself of anything, and I'm still active and I'm healthy. And that's what people need to realize. It's like once you have a system down, you're able to do it all. You don't have to be 100% clean eating and working out like a crazy person to enjoy the whole process of it. It's a lifestyle. Yeah. So that's what I like to preach. It's a whole lifestyle.
All right, now here's the funny thing. So when you're at the restaurant and people see you have a glass of wine and now you get the dessert, let me tell you what's happening. There's people at another table looking at you, and you know what they think? Oh my God, I hate her. She's one of those people who can eat whatever she wants.
Who can eat dessert?
she can eat whatever she wants. She never get fat. But really what they don't know is like you're training 5 days a week.
Yeah, I go to the gym the next morning, and it's like, it's okay. This is part of the lifestyle. So and that's why I love working out. It makes me feel good. I get to have those nights out with my family, and it's all moderation. So that's all it is.
I was in the airport. I was traveling one time, and I was coming back from a conference speaking, and there's this lady, and she's in line behind me. We're getting on the plane, and she is having a relationship with this Cinnabon. I mean, she's just looking at it, and it's almost like she's talking to her, and she's digging in, and I'm like, man. So I'd say, like, look at you, and she goes, every morning this week I stayed on the stair mill 15 minutes extra because I knew I was coming through the airport and I was going to get a Cinnabon. I said, wait a minute. I said, it's like 5 days this week. So you're telling me you spent an hour and 15 minutes on a stair mill just for that, and that's worth that? And she goes, you bet it is. Absolutely.
That's heavy. That's motivation, though. Good for her.
That's what I thought. I said, man, how cool is that?
Whatever gets you going. I mean, that's great. She had that mindset. So, I mean, that's her reward. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And so has there ever been a time in your life where you like really felt you were disappointed in yourself, you felt you're out of shape, maybe you're a little bit overweight, and you were like, were you ever in that funk, like, I got to get myself together?
Oh yeah, all the time. I have, looking back at pictures, I think after I had my 2 kids, I got really skinny, not even wanting to, and I lost a lot of muscle. And so I was really just, the hormones women go through with pregnancy is just insane. And so I, ever since then, I wanted to really build up, get my muscle back, because I've never wanted to be too skinny. And then before that, I think when I was like 18, you're getting out of high school, you're just eating. I was drinking soda a lot. I was actually heavier than I've ever been. And I was only 10 pounds heavier pregnant. So I really just put on a lot of weight. And then looking back at those pictures, I'm just like, wow, how did I get there? And I was super just unhealthy. And I was, when you're in that mindset, you're just unhappy. you're overall unhappy.
Yeah.
And that's all it took was just a little tweak. And that's when I started going to the gym. I must have been like 18 years old, and I didn't go, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. I would just start little, and I would take the classes at the gym, and I would learn. And that's how I learned everything I do now. So,
I think when it's not just women, but men too, especially in teaching. They come out of college, and maybe in college they did something in a mural thing, or maybe they're just maybe just walk into classes. They were active in such a way where it didn't really affect them. But then the teaching thing, they're on their feet, but it's not real exercise. They are moving and talking. But here's, what I have found happens is in their, fifth or sixth year of teaching, they realize, wait a minute, man, I'm like 30 and 40 pounds overweight. And,
right.
but here's what, it's so, it's imperceptible. It's not even noticeable, because what happened was they started showing up for, and there's, parents love teachers, and they show their love with donuts and kolaches and breakfast tacos
all the time,
cookies. And then, you don't pack your lunch. So there's steak finger, and you're eating a school pizza or whatever that thing is. And then what we're looking at is it's imperceptible, because it might be 5, 6, like 8 ounces of extra weight a month. So it's not even a pound, but at the end of the year, it's 5 or 6, 7 pounds. And then at the end of 5 years, it's 30, 35, 40 pounds. And at the 5th or 6th year, like, oh my God, what happened? And
it's so easy. It happens. I mean, we have goodies and treats and parent food and donuts all the time in our staff lounge. So, I mean, it's easy to, take a donut hole, take another one. And then, it adds up. And especially if you're not somebody who's active,
Yep.
You consider you're active walking around a classroom, which, trust me, that's exhausting in itself. I know. But you need more than that. And so, it can sneak up on you.
Yeah, I think we confuse like emotional and intellectual exhaustion with physical exhaustion. Like, I know you feel exhausted, but really in the teaching world, really what that is, like an emotional and intellectual, because we make these crazy
100%.
thousands of, critical decisions every day that change the course and trajectory of a kid's life. But we're not, and it feels like physical exhaustion. But the truth is, what has happened now is we're putting on 6, 7 ounces of a month, and that's adding up.
Right.
But like you said, man, we start, because of the inactivity, we start losing muscle tone, and there's some atrophy that sets in, and now we are heavier with less muscle, so that affects our metabolism and the cortisol levels, and so it just gets worse and worse and worse. And now they're 10 years into the career, and they don't look anything like they ever wanted to.
Right, and you see that a lot, and I think at that point, like you said, you turn one flat tire into 3, and you just give up, and then you start making the excuses, and it's just spirals after that. So
yeah, and
you got to get out of that slump. You got to stop making the excuses. And I tell that to my students all the time. I have 8th graders that are just super lazy, and I'm like, stop making excuses. I have you for 50 minutes. Let's go. Put in the work. So.
And then I think here's also what happens with some educators is they have the moment, and maybe there's a breakdown, or they'll see pictures from 10 years ago, and Facebook is really helpful with that, because they'll show you 10 years ago what you posted, and they're like, oh my God. And so they decide that's it, and they drive over to the Planet Fitness or the 24-hour fitness, and they, sign up, and then they walk in there, and first they go get some outfits, and they walk in there with their new outfit, and then, but they walk up to that first machine, and they're staring at it, and they have no idea what to do.
No idea what to do, yeah.
And the really weird thing is, like, they feel like everybody's looking at them, but truly everybody's looking at themselves in the mirror, like no one's looking at them.
Exactly,
right.
Yeah.
And
that's, if I had any advice for someone in that situation, I would say, go to the classes that they offer, the Zumba, the spin. They offer so many, the body pump. I mean, that is where you learn all the exercises and you get comfortable, and everyone's in there. Everyone's making a fool of themselves. They're trying, they're sweating, they're having fun. And it's usually a lot of people that continually come back. So you make friends, and that's where I would start in that situation.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's that is a huge part of it, is like having like a little tribe, like a community that
yes, it's so important. It helps it a lot, which is next year I'm actually going to start a it's going to be like, we're going to start with once a weekend up in my Escondido district where I teach. And I'm going to offer a fit camp on a Sunday for like an hour once a month. And we'll see how that goes for all the teachers in the district that want to come out. And I'll put on a little camp and we'll do some exercises. Any levels welcome. And I've been chatting with the wellness coordinator at our district site, and she's like, let's do this. So I'm all about getting involved. So that's, I mean, everyone just needs a little motivation. They need a little knowledge. They need a little motivation. So let's do this.
And then, like you said, man, the support, like other, other
Support.
people, especially other teachers. Like that's the thing, man. Because they all have the same challenges, and they all know like what we're all going through during the school day, and they know we all have the same temptations. And if they can support each other together, that changes everything.
Right. Yeah. It's a good way to, and we can all talk about our day, talk about our students. And then it's a way to break free and just have fun and let your vibes loose, feel good energy, positivity. So it's going to be really good next year. I'm really looking forward to it.
Man, I'm wondering, like, was there a point in your life where like something where this big shift happened for you and you're like all in on the fitness thing, or was it like this gradual thing and one day you woke up and said, wait a minute, I'm pretty deep into this thing?
You know, it's so funny. It was pretty gradual for me, like I said, after high school, and then I've always been into it through college. And I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. And then I got my master's in education, and I actually went and subbed in a PE classroom. And I was subbing at the time, my kids, I had 2 babies. I was just starting my career. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm subbing in leggings and workout clothes, and I'm doing sports. I was like, this is, why didn't I not? It was like, it like, bam, hit me in the face. And so that was maybe about 5 years ago now. And ever since then, I've been hitting it hard. I got my single subject for PE, and it's just been fitness and lifestyle after that.
Yeah.
So it's really, and it's awesome because I like to say I teach it and I preach it and I do it. I'm a product of what I'm doing. And so I think that's really important for my students to see, because I teach them and I'm like, hey, I'm going to the gym straight after work. So I'm going to go get my workout in. You guys do your work here. It's like, I'm not just pushing you and teaching you this stuff. I'm actually doing it myself. And I think that's really valuable for them to see, especially my big kids. My whole thing is, this is a lifestyle. This is a grade, yes, but this is your lifestyle. You need to make healthy habits now to be successful in everything. And so me being able to share that with them, it has been huge.
You know, that's one of the things I always talk about with teachers, and not just, I mean, clearly are the perfect example of that. But, there's this concept that, you know what, like we're at a point where, because of the kids and this generation, like if they're going to be it, they have to see it. Like I have to show it if I'm going to grow it in that kid. And if we're teaching reading, but we're not walking around everywhere we go in the school with a book in our hand, like talking about the magic that's happening in these pages and what we're excited about we're reading. Now, kids don't really know what an excited reader looks like. They don't know like who that is. And like, that's the cool thing about what you have going on, because like you said, man, like, not only are you teaching it, but you're preaching it, and they can see that it works, and you're talking about it, and like, I think that, not just in the area of physical education, but in every one of our core content areas, like if a kid can see what passion looks like for that subject area, whatever it is, like that's so important.
So important. And I know at my school, we have a lot of teachers that are doing just that. They bring the education to life, and they're doing projects, and they're making it real, they're making it hands-on, and you can actually see the learning happen. And I know a lot of teachers do that at this day and age, and I think that's great, because kids need to see the passion behind the learning. Otherwise, if it's dry, they're like, this is just in one ear out the other. What are we doing? What am I here for? They don't grab onto it like they should.
Yeah. I think, when I remember, like I'm way old. And so I was, like when I was in school, like in the 70s and early 80s, and like it really was kind of a sit and get thing. And that's just what it was. Like you sat in rows, in columns, and single file, and we were in alphabetical order, and we passed out the worksheet, and that lady stood at the desk up there and didn't talk to us, and we read the book and did the worksheet and turned it in on the way out, And, I just wonder, like, how many kids did we miss out? Because it's such a different world, where like now, like that's what was expected in terms of education back then. But what's expected now is this interactive approach where kids can be a part of the experience. And, like, I just wonder, like, I mean, like, how many kids were we missing out on back then?
Yeah, that is so true because education, for the most part, it's not taught like that anymore, which is good because kids need to be excited. They need to feel the excitement of what they're doing. And so I think you're exactly right. A lot of kids missed out on all of that.
Yeah. And, especially like those, like those kinesthetic learners. Like I
Oh,
mean, even like what you're dealing with, like go to like eighth grade boys. I mean, oh
oh
my
yeah.
God, can you imagine being an eighth grade boy sitting in a classroom with somebody droning on about a president, and you're just like looking out the window and like, oh my gosh, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, thank goodness our times have changed now with this new seating and how teachers can change their classrooms around and how we get up and move and everything on the iPads and it's more interactive with the smart boards. So things have really changed, which is good. That's the way we're going in our society. So
Yeah. Hey, when I'm curious, when you were growing up, were you like super successful in school? Like was that your thing? Were you loving it?
I was always a good student, even through college. Yeah, I always had good grades. I always went to school. I always enjoyed school. My mom was actually a high school English teacher. So I've definitely had that in my background. And I think if I wasn't doing well in school, I would have,
Uh,
coming from my Italian family, I would have gotten it. But
Yeah.
no, I really enjoyed school. And from the youngest age, I always wanted to be a teacher. So it just, there was never anything else I wanted to do.
Yeah. And then what now was your dad in education as well?
No, he was not. He had a collection of different things going on, but he did work in education for a little bit in the latter part of his career, and he worked with computers and technology as that started getting more and more important.
Yeah.
So
When you were growing up and you were thinking about being a teacher and like when you would imagine that and daydream about that, like where did you see yourself in a middle school or high school or elementary school?
oh my gosh, so funny. So I originally wanted to teach kindergarten or first grade. And I love the little babies. Right now, I teach fourth through eighth graders. We have an intermediate school. But 2 years ago, I was teaching first through eighth graders. And I love the little kids. But oh my gosh, I could not handle a full day of kindergarten or first grade. I'm very happy with 50 minutes and I give them back.
Yeah.
That is a lot of work. And I think a lot of that goes to the fact that I have that age kids at home. So it's just, it's very challenging, a lot of patience. And I always say to my kids' teachers, I'm like, bless your heart. That's a challenging age of kids to work with.
You ain't
So,
kidding, man. When I first started my career, I started in a tiny, tiny little Texas town, and I was the music teacher, the band director, and in a tiny town, you teach them all like K through 12,
yes,
and I
yes.
never even I'm not sure I've ever saw a kindergartner, and I never thought about teaching one. And my first day, I show up, and like the first thing, first in the morning, you have the kinders, and not only was I the band director because it's a small town, but you had to do PE as well. So I show
Mm-hmm.
up and there's nobody to help. There might be
Oh,
30
yeah.
teachers in the whole district. And I show up and I got my tie on and everything. And the teacher brought down the class of kinders and there's probably 25 of them. And she lined them up and they stood behind me and she walked off and I'm staring at them and they're staring at me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what do I, and it got so bad. We never even made it to the little PE room they had. I have no idea. And so it is so, like, I remember thinking after the first 45 minutes, I was supposed to do something for 45. I couldn't even do that. I remember thinking after 45 minutes, there's no way I can do this. Like, how does anybody?
It's definitely, it's hard, it's challenging. It's so funny. I taught dance when I was in like my early 20s, and that was my favorite age, was 3 to 5 year olds. So I love that age. I'm actually really good with that age. But to have a full day with them, I'd rather not. And what's so funny is I always dreaded middle school. I said I would never teach middle school. And funny enough, my 7th and 8th graders are some of my favorite kids to teach. And I think it's because I can be real with them. And I have a totally different attitude than I do with my 4th graders, as you should. But I can be real with them. And I like that realness. And I can be witty with them. And it's a whole different type of learning. And I have this younger heart, I guess you could say. So I really can relate to them.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. Of all the great middle school and junior high and intermediate teachers I've met along my career, I think like all the great ones, it might be like 100% said, I never imagined I would be doing middle school. I never thought I wanted to do this.
It's amazing.
I told everybody I would never, but this was the only job available, and then they loved it.
And then they loved it. Yeah, it was the weirdest thing that fell into my lap, I guess you could say. And I love it. I love my big kids. So it's crazy.
Yeah, and I think what I was talking to a guy just a couple of days ago, and he told me he's a principal, and he said what I love about it is he was a high school principal for a long time, and he moved to junior high. And he said, what I love about junior high is like high school, I can pretty much tell you exactly what's going to happen every day. There's a lot of consistency. But he said about junior high, the only thing that's consistent is the inconsistency. Like you never know what you're going to get on any given day.
Never know. Yeah. It's kind of, we joke around and call it the lost years because kids are just trying to find themselves. And they're experimenting. They're becoming little people and they don't know how to do it the correct way. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. When you look back and thinking about when you were a kid and thinking about when you felt happiest and most successful and secure and connected, what grade, what teacher was that for you?
For me, I would have to say I really remember my 1st through 2nd grade teachers, like being that young. And I was a really shy person as a little child. I was super shy, which is something I am totally not now. And when people meet me, they're just like, you were shy? And I'm just like, yeah, I was really shy. So I think from like 1st and 2nd grade, my teacher really started getting me out of my shell. And I would go to special pullouts for reading classes to kind of become more confident in myself. And I think that really helped me, just having that little time to really own it and start becoming the learner I was going to be. So I can really vividly remember those times in my education and career, which is crazy because I don't remember much, but I remember that I really enjoyed those teachers too, and they took a little extra time with me. Yeah. You can always remember the teachers that were there and took a little extra time with you.
You know what's interesting is I have this event I do around the nation at schools. It's called Be the One, and where I work with kids and administrators and teachers all on the same day in this format. And in my work with when I work with these kids that are kind of like kids in leadership positions in middle schools and high schools, we always talk about our teachers and what we appreciate about our teachers right now. And the way I get to them being comfortable to talk about, like in the high school, they're high school teachers right now, I always start them back in 1st grade. And I say, tell me about your 1st grade teacher. Tell me just like, and every kid has an amazing school story about a 1st grade teacher, kindergarten, a 2nd grade teacher. And then we talk about what the difference is between their teachers now and the teachers they have then, because, the teachers that they have now as when they're 16 or 17 years old, I mean, they love them just as much. But what they always tell me the difference is that in 1st and 2nd grade is that they told them all the time how much they loved them. Like there's so much evidence.
Isn't that funny? Like we need the reassurance. We need that. And, just you saying that might be something that I need to instill next year to my kids, because everyone needs that reassurance and that gratification that, hey, you're doing a good job. Hey, this is where you should be. There's nothing wrong with giving them that extra little push because that makes them feel good. And those are affirmations that people can need and make them have a better day if they're having an off day. So that's really, really genius that you came up with that.
But it wasn't me, it was the kids telling me.
Yeah, that's genius that they thought of that. I mean, so true though.
Yeah. I think, from my perspective as an adult is sometimes they will trick you, like they fool you. Like when you're with a group of 1st graders, these are clearly and obviously children because they're crying and there's boogers everywhere. I mean, these are babies. But we forget, like in eighth grade, like that's a child too, man. Like that is a baby.
100%. Yeah, they are a big child, and they still need a lot of comfort and care. And sometimes I always like to say, the district I teach in, we have a lot of Title I schools, so we get a lot of government help. But sometimes you just have to remember that maybe they're not getting a good morning every morning. Maybe they're not starting their day off super positive. So to be that little light in their world, even if it's just for that day, it's super important to remember those kinds of things, because they are children. I mean, they're growing, they're learning.
A friend of mine, he teaches in El Paso, Texas. His name is Ricky Ramirez, and he's getting a little bit of notoriety. He was just on the Ellen show. They had him on because he does this really cool backpack drive for kids. He's a real young teacher. And what I love about this guy is he grew up like really rough, like kind of in the hood. And just, through the help of teachers and some good decisions he made, went to the Marines, and he was a boxer and like doing the Golden Gloves, and came out, went to college and ended up being a teacher. And now he teaches the same kids where he grew up. And it's really cool because he can ask a kid, "Hey, man, what unit are you in that apartment complex? I used to live there. What unit are you?" And then, like he'll have a kid in his class who's living in one of the apartments that he moved around into, and he did a video the other day and posted it. And he has a little cousin that lives in the same hood, and Ricky took his cell phone and made like a little video of this kid's walk home from school, and like what this kid passes, and like there's.
Wow.
I mean, it is. I mean, it's just poverty and crime and broken beer bottles and just the grossest things you could see on the ground. And this kid passes and where he has to cross over and to make it home. And, I think it's really important for those of us that teach in those Title I places. Like at some point, man, I really hope teachers can get out and go see where they live.
Yeah, and how powerful is that he teaches now in that same area? I mean, how powerful for the students. That gives me goosebumps thinking about that, because those people that do that are like superhumans. That's just so amazing. I totally hands down to that, because that's great.
Yeah, because it eliminates, like he doesn't even have to say it. Like he does say it, but the truth is, like it eliminates every excuse a kid has.
Totally. Yes. And it gives them the confidence that they can make something of themselves. They can do it too. Yeah. So it's not an end for them. Right.
And like he can say, "Man, I made that same bad decision. I did that same thing. I suffered the same consequences, and I owned up to, and here I'm at, and look now."
Here I am. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love it. I think, and when also for teachers, like when we assign homework, I think it's important to be able to picture the home in which that kid lives.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Because homework is very different.
Very different. Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because I know I do homework with my first grader, who is now a second grader. But if I wasn't there to help him, how would he be doing that homework? Because, you have to keep that in mind. So it's something that as teachers, we need to always remember, because everyone's home life is different. And what are they going home to? Who's there to help them? Because that is challenging stuff and can be very, he can feel defeated. I know my son feels defeated, even when I'm helping him. Yeah. So imagine if there was no help. It's just, wow.
I got to be honest, just the thought of a first grader doing homework kind of bothers me.
Oh yeah, I know. It's a homework packet, right? And we have all do it, but I know. I'm like, we got Little League, we got all this stuff going on. So.
It's like, hey man, we're working at home. Trust me, we don't need anything else.
I know.
Yeah, man, this parenting thing ain't easy, and I can't even imagine doing a single mom parenting. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I'm very blessed that my family is super involved. So my parents are they are lifesavers, and my kids benefit, I benefit. So because it's not easy, and I live in beautiful San Diego, and it's not cheap, and so but I'm very blessed. So,
Yeah, you know what? And here's the thing: like in most of my work that I do traveling is in smaller communities, in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Oklahoma, Florida, and it's kind of like a town where they'll have like one high school, one junior high, and an elementary or two, and like what you describe is like commonplace because for generations they lived in that town, and like mom and
mhm.
dad went to that school as well, and oftentimes mom and dad had the same teacher that their kid has right now. And
Yes.
so there is so much more family and community support of picking up and being involved in the parenting of the kid rather than just mom and or just dad or just mom and dad.
Yeah, and I that's how I was raised, and I wouldn't want it any other way, to be honest with you. So
Yeah.
I think it's very important, and my kids are good little humans because of it. So they benefit so much. So
And you know what, man? If your kid can add and subtract, that's pretty cool. But the fact he's a good little human, I'm down for that.
well, I always say I'm raising gentlemen, so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Hey, for
Yeah.
you as and single mom and teacher, and and you're doing if you could there's thousands, tens of thousands that have teachers that just did their student teaching and they're graduating and they just got a job this week that they're going to start in August. If there's something that you could recommend to them in terms of like their professional life and personal life, looking back on how you started, what would be something that you would hope they would keep in mind or focus on?
Oh gosh, that's so tricky. I'm only going into my fifth year of teaching, so I'm still pretty new at it.
Yeah.
I was a stay-at-home mom for, till my youngest was one. But, I would, I guess networking is the best thing. I would say try to meet people who are on your site or on your team and try to collaborate with them. I would also try to I'm a big planner. I like to have my day planned out. I would try to pencil in some you time, whether it's I got to get to school early to set up, and then or I have to stay a little later to leave and to plan out for the next day. I think being prepared is super good. And I also think getting that 30 minutes in of just decompressing is totally needed, because I can tell you what, I'll be on the treadmill after work and I get the best time to reassess everything that happens in my day. So what went well, what didn't go well? I always ask myself, what can I do next time? So I think when you're teaching, those are three questions you can always ask yourself. So find a way or find a time where you can actually make that time to review. And if you have to think about it now, like when will that time be? Start planning it now.
Yeah, that planning piece is huge, and here's like I'm the first one to complain about being forced to make detailed lesson plans. But here's the truth. I am so much better in the classroom when I have detailed lesson plans. And the crazy thing is I have so much more time.
So much more time, yes. And it's always better to have too much than not enough. That's what I've come to find out. So, yes.
Yeah. And then on there, that me time thing is critical. I think we're spending like kind of like that self-care part component is such a huge buzz right now in education. But more than like a strategy, I think you're right. Just making yourself the priority and having like you for whatever you want to do time.
Yes, and whether it's yoga or sitting in a room with your journal and writing it out, or if you need to get out and walk, I can't even tell you that time on the treadmill with my headphones on and I'm just listening to my music or my personal development. I'm able to really reassess everything. And it's nice. I don't have kids bugging me. I don't have my kids bugging me. So yes, find that time. And you're getting fitness in too. So you feel better, which is good.
I think that personal development piece, like that's one thing we don't talk enough about because, like
So important. I just started
oh,
that this year and it's been huge. It's been so huge in my life.
I
So
think it's like in every part of your life because like what I always tell teachers in my mind, and like this is a hard thing to accept as an educator, but like you are the limiting factor in that classroom. Like
mm,
like you can't, like who you are really is the limiting, that's the ceiling. And like you can't be better until like you are better, not just in teaching and strategies and delivering the content, but in just who you are as a person. And like I think that is for a lot of people is the missing key or the missing puzzle piece in that recipe for them developing as an educator. And so like how did you get into that whole personal growth thing?
I got turned on to it this year. I listened to little personal development video clips. I'll listen to them on the treadmill, at the gym. I'll listen to them in the morning when I'm getting ready. And it kind of, it changes my mindset. And for myself, I like to take on new challenges. If I'm not trying to be better, then there's something wrong. I want to be a better teacher. I want to be a better mother. I want to grow. I can't tell you how many, degrees I have because I have my multiple subject, I have my master's, then I wanted to do PE. I always want to be better. So if you're not trying to be better, you're standing still. And I don't want to stand still because I'm not at my best yet. I feel like you can always be better. So listening to the personal development, I mean, it's inspiring. It's inspiring to hear some stories. It's inspiring to hear the things that, you forget. Your mind works in weird ways. Like your mind will tell you can't do something when yes, you can. Your mind protects you. That's one of the ones I just listened to. You have to step out of your comfort zone a lot. And so that's what I've been doing. And it's refreshing, actually. It's really refreshing.
I think everyone, not everyone, but the vast majority of people are going through a personal like transformation. The problem is they're not like self-directing it because all they're doing is like looking at Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and that's changing who they are. Like it's affecting,
Oh,
and
definitely.
oftentimes like it's not exactly what they would choose for themselves, but it is impacting them rather than really stepping back and coming up with a plan and finding content creators and whether that's, respected authors or scientists or just personal growth experts to really plan a trajectory that makes sense for you and what you want to achieve.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just like I said, I don't want to sit still. I want to keep growing. So I think that's something that you can only benefit from.
Yeah. All right. Here's one last thing I want to talk to you about real quick is so we have this saying that in terms of training and exercise, we always say that you cannot out train or outrun or out workout a bad diet. So for you, like how do you like that meal, are you meal prepping a few times a week or like are you consciously choosing menus and packing your lunch every day?
That's a great question. I do meal prep sometimes, like I'll make a crock pot chicken and I'll have lunches for the week, especially when I'm teaching. Now that we're on summer, I'm really big on outings with my kids and I'll pack lunches. I pack healthy snacks. I'm big on everything protein. So protein bars, protein shakes. I have a shake every morning. It's all about planning your food. I feel like if you eat out, it's detrimental.
Yeah.
Not only are you spending a lot of money, but you're eating something that you shouldn't really, you don't always want to eat. And that's just like eating out on the go. And I'm not talking about dinners, but a dinner once in a while. But yeah, I bring snacks and food everywhere. I'm really big on like the little protein snacks and like the nut packs, and my kids eat just like me too. So we'll bring yogurts and it's fun.
Yeah. I hear that a lot. My kids won't eat that. Yeah, they will.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. So you just got to bring enough healthy snacks and they do it. And, they emulate what you do. So that's all it is.
Yeah, they'll get hungry, trust me.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other thing I always think is somebody said this to me, and now I can't help but do it because I don't care. Like every once in a while, I'll stop and get a burger and fries, and
Oh, yeah, of course.
yeah, whatever. But I'll walk in, and especially if I'm on the road and speaking, but somebody said this, and now I think about it every time. They told me when you're standing at that cash register and you're looking up there and look at the person taking your order and look in the back, you just need to keep in mind that person at the cash register, that's your nutritionist, and that guy in the back flipping that's That's your chef. So like,
Yeah,
and
thanks for telling me that.
right, and every time I think, well, there's my nutritionist, and there she's standing there looking at me like, oh my lord.
Yeah, that's true though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think especially for teaching, like for me, like that is such a huge goal going to next year for a lot of the teachers that listen and that we talk to is that like that's such a great goal is like plan a lunch every like that part alone is bringing your lunch and a snack to school every day and plan that out on Sunday so you know what it looks like so you're not stuck on Monday with nothing.
Oh, I'm full believer on that. And then I also have a big old cabinet in my office, with all of my little nuts and protein bars and healthy snacks. I'll have rice cakes and because I eat a lot. So especially when I'm teaching and when I'm using my energy. So as long as I'm having fruit and healthy snacks and I'm not buying lunch, I don't eat the school lunch. Not that it's bad. I've always preferred to take my own lunch. So if you are prepared for a successful day, even with your habits of eating, then you're going to have a successful day. And buy stuff you like too, because lunchtime, you look forward to lunch.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, lunchtime. So
yeah, that's the thing. Like I know this meme is probably out there somewhere. I just I wish we could find it. Is like I really wish somebody like on one side of the picture put a typical teacher lunch or and maybe the lunch lady will slide you an extra brownie or an extra roll or with your pizza or whatever, and like how many calories that is. And then side by side, stack up all the food that's dense and rich in nutrients and how much more you can consume of healthy foods that equals that same caloric intake. I think people would be shocked.
Oh, definitely. And there's good food too that still is just as nutritious and is just as delicious, and you're not eating, quote unquote junk every day. Once in a while is good, but
Yeah.
every day. And how do you feel after you eat stuff like that too? Your energy level's down. I know if I eat something super heavy and rich and I'm in the middle of the day, I don't want to teach. I want to like kick back in a nap. So you got to think about that too. What's going to keep your energy level up so you can make it through the day?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Well, hey, listen, man, I'm so proud of you. Like all that you have going on and the stuff that you post is just inspiring. And I think what's great about you is, people it's achievable. Like you're living proof that, yeah, man, I'm busy. Yeah, I got a lot going on. Yeah, I have people in my life that are helping me. And yeah, like, and you're making it happen and you're doing homework with your kids and you're coaching baseball and working out and teaching and like living this full balanced life that's making a difference in the lives of others too. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And you know what? I'm happy. So I think that's the most important right there. So yeah. I love what I do. I love my kids and I'm happy. So it's good.
All right. So
everyone can.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we're going to have some teachers that, might want an accountability partner or just to ask a question.
Send them my way.
Awesome.
I would love it. Send them my way. I'm more and more getting involved in the community and I love to be inspired by others and I love to help others. So please reach out. I would love it. Send them my way.
All right, Marissa, I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you very much for having me. This was a lot of fun. Thank you. All
right, go get out in the sun and take a selfie and make us all jealous.
I'm going on a hike right now, so I'm enjoying my day.
All right. I'm going to watch it on Instagram. Thank you.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.